Hey guys, happy 2025. We just finished the most recent Sunday gathering for the 28-day mindfulness challenge. And I wanted to re-record the 2025 astrology overview because there's a little bit of a technical uh, difficulty that we had. So let me go ahead and start my share so that I'll start to share my screen so that you guys could see where we're headed. So what we did in the gathering was we did the astrology overview, had a Q&A, and did a meditation. I'm going to tack on the meditation to the end, but I'm going to just insert this for the presentation so that we can get to everything that is really going on here. So the first thing that happens, major event, it actually happens in just a couple of days on January 11th. From January 11th to 2025 to August 18th, 2026, we're going to have the lunar nodes change signs. And so the lunar nodes are made up of the North Node and the South Node. And their North Node is where we're headed collectively. South Node is where we've been collectively. They're indicators of the direction of our evolution, both collectively and individually. And when the nodes enter a new sign or signs, what happens is the themes, the energies, the archetypes that are in the collective shift. So we're coming out of the Libra, the Aries Libra axis, North Node Aries, I am energy, where we've been invited in this last span of time to upgrade our selves from individualistic, egoistic selves to really recognizing that we are the change. We are we are a valuable part of the collective, and to own that. And the South Node in Libra, is reminding us that we have lived, we may need to reach into further past lifetimes, but we lived lives understanding cosmic justice and how to hold everything in balance, not just for our egoic self, but for everybody. That theme is going to be shifting in just a couple days' time. And that's going to be because we're going to be shifting out of the Libra Aries axis into the Pisces Virgo axis. So North Node is going to be in Pisces. This invites us to sort of just steep ourselves in the themes of healing and spirituality and dreaming and imagination and everything that is sacred to us from our own inner knowing of what's really special, what we hold dear. Pisces energy, a North Node, is also going to encourage us to surrender, to accept things as they are, even if they aren't necessarily perfect. For example, a family member or a way of being in the collective, in kind of a Gemini fashion, really realizing that everybody's always doing the best they can and that there's different ways to see things. And so the way that Pisces does this, though, is with the idea of compassion. And this is why I love the 28-day challenge, right? The learning here with the nodes changing signs from January 5th to August 2026, is that compassion and love are powerful. That's the medicine that we need. The idea of forgiving, reciprocity, honoring another, giving to another because our cup is full. That is it's going to be supported within the Pisces North Node archetype. South Node in Virgo is going to invite us to release our self-judgment, release our perfectionism, release any shame or any need to control, and to really be present with our human selves. And so the idea here is that, maybe the collective has imposed upon us and we've taken upon us some kind of self-imposed pressure. These perfection ideals, but those expectations can be crippling if we are never going to be able to be good enough. So the part of the South Node in Virgo is we're going to be inspired to love all aspects of ourselves, even some part of ourself that we might judge as being subpar or not good enough. So let's go to the next big happening, and this is Venus retrograde in both the sign of Aries as well as the sign of Pisces. Depending on where you're at in the world, this starts on March 1st or 2nd. And it's worth noting that Venus goes retrograde every 18 months. This is something that's predictable. She goes retrograde for 40 days. So this year on March 1st or 2nd, Venus retrograde is going to, Venus in general is the planet of beauty, the planet of self-value, the planet of worthiness, the planet of even, in a larger sense, like magnetism, being fully embodied and really realizing that we are the powerful creators. Venus's bent is beauty and art and harmony and balance and love and partnership and romance, but magnetism nevertheless. So as she's going retrograde, this is a time for us to reflect on her themes within ourselves and in our lives, and to bring greater, to shine a light on them, to bring greater awareness, review, release, revise. That's retrograde energy. So there might be some things, old patterns, emotions that we can release. It's also going to be a time for us to remember our value, our inherent worthiness, not out there in the future, but worthiness because, period. And as Venus is moving through Aries, she's going to be in Aries first. This is going to be a time for us to reconnect with our I am self, our desires, our inspirations, what is sacred to us, just like that last theme, our selfhood, but also our relationship with how and why we are inspired to take action, to notice that about us. What are we driven by? What makes us passionate? What gets us out of bed in the morning? What gets us excited? What do we want to go volunteer and just waste time on? Not waste time, because it's not wasting time when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, when you're following your soul. So Venus in Aries is going to be that kind of bring that kind of awareness, helping us embody our worth, and also having a more intuitive relationship with our inner knowings. That's an overarching theme here in 2025, is this relationship to our soul selves, to our sacred selves. And then Venus is also going to continue retrograding into Pisces, and so this is going to be a time for healing through art and creativity and compassion. We don't all have to be artists, but even the act of compassion is a creative act. It's taking something that seems unsavory and shining the light of love on it and transforming it in our own life, and actually potentially transforming the lives of another or the lives of many others. This is also a time of surrendering. So that's another theme that's coming through here, going with the flows, trusting what is coming up. If there is any kind of trauma or past hurt, it's going to be a time for us to bring the light of this unconditional love. And this is the love of the universe, the love of the cosmos, the love of God, the love of the Great Mother, the love that exists because it exists. And it's like the sun shines on everyone, right? So this type of energy is what's going to come through with Venus retrograde in Pisces from March to April. Next, we have Neptune moving into the sign of Aries. So this is an outer planet. Outer planets, transpersonal planets, generational planets, called such because these are once in a lifetime cycles. If we look at the Neptune as a 165-year cycle, it's going to be another 165 years till Neptune gets back into Aries. So that's more than one generation, or at least one generation, right? So Neptune has a 165-year cycle. Just for it to compare these outer planets, it spends 14 years in each of 12 zodiac signs. Pluto has a 248-year cycle. It spends between 15 to 30 years because Pluto's orbit is elliptical. It spends more and less time. So to get these two to change signs in a relatively close time in and of itself is rare. But there's more to come, and I'll get to that in a few slides. But let's focus on what's happening now, or what's going to be happening around the time of March 30th when Neptune dips into Aries. So this is also worth noting that this is going to go very similar to how Pluto went in and out of Capricorn and dipped its toe into Aquarius, back into Cap, forward in Aquarius, back and forth a couple times until boom, Pluto's now permanently in Aquarius for the rest of our lifetime and many other, for 248-year cycle, right? So Neptune in Aries is going to begin in 2025, but it's going to be fully in Aries in 2026. So this is going to be a time for us to glimpse some of these themes that are going to come through here. And Neptune, the planet of illusion and delusion, but it's also the planet of intuition and sacred imagination. Neptune in Aries is going to bring our imagination, invite us to bring our inner world into action. Those inner soul dreams, that sacredness that's within ourselves. So it's like these dreams, these visions that we have, are going to be invited to actualize them, to start to weave them into reality. This is also going to be a time where our intuition and our creativity will be heightened, but it's going to be heightened to lead us towards our soul's purpose. So this desire to connect with the sacredness of our personal passions, and to remember that we are sacred. Every breath we take, our consciousness is sacred. This moment is a gift. It's also going to be a time for us to explore how the vibrations of intuition and inspiration and motivation and desire feel. Because as we're going to be coming online with new abilities, it's like learning to ride a bike, swim around in these energies so that we know, oh, this is my intuition speaking to me, not just something we think and we may or may not trust. Getting used to how it feels when we're connected to our intuition. That's what's possible for us right here. And this is, again, just dipping a toe, just a short time. Neptune's going to be in Aries. But it's a time for us to gather these insights and to receive these inklings, so that when in 2026 Neptune does go fully into Aries, we'll be ready for this next 160 years. We also have, so this is March 30th. In May, we have Saturn moving into Aries. Saturn's not a transpersonal planet, but it is considered an outer planet. I consider it the planet of karma. But it's also the planet of building, of responsibility, of legacy. But I think about it as grounded action. Saturn, if Saturn is constricting for any reason, it's because it really wants these nebulous ideas that are in the 4 and 5D to be able to, it wants to support us to put it into 3D. And so this is going to be, Saturn in Aries, it's going to be grounded action. So if Saturn, it desires commitment and devotion and discipline, as it comes into Aries, it's going to be a little bit of an interesting opportunity here. On one hand, these two are very different energies. Aries is like out of the gates, fast running, intuition, guttural motion, go, boom. Saturn is also action and motion, but it's much more slow. And I spoke of the metaphor of the sprinter, Aries, and the long distance runner, Saturn. Can they work together? Can they be on the same team? Well, in the modern day world, they're not necessarily going to compete against each other in the same race, or if they did, one would clearly win over the other, right? But how can they synergize? Because both of those types of action, we can sense that there's a time and a place for both of those things. So this is going to be, we're going to be inspired. We're going to feel our inner soul knowing. There's going to be this sense of passion. Aries is a passionate planet, but we're going to be invited to take a long-term vision so that we can really be committed to something, be devoted to something, so that but we're going to be able to see it and be willing to do those, whatever it is that needs to be done for the long term. So this transit's going to really help us step into our personal power, but it's also going to help us understand our responsibility for our vibration, our responsibility for what we're creating. And there is going to be aspects of courage if we need it, resilience if we need it, motivation if we need it. And the idea here is almost like a mastery. If we can get the sprinter and the long distance runner to co-create, look at that strong team that we have. So this is going to be kind of like, just exactly like Neptune, actually. This is going to be just a toe dip here. Saturn's not going to be fully into Aries until 2026. We're going to get to see this theme. And this is why I was saying in previous podcasts that this is very fertile time, 2025. Also, probably not the best time to think that it's all done. because 2026 is going to be times where structures are only really going to begin to coalesce. Here, it's just a matter of going with these flows, trusting our intuition, but it's our sacred knowing that's coming through with these transits. We also have on June 9th, Jupiter, another outer planet, moving signs into Cancer. You can't make this stuff up. All this is happening at the same time. I hope you sense how rare and special this is. So Jupiter in general, planet of expansion, planet of luck, planet of abundance, and it's entering Cancer on June 9th. And this is bringing us the opportunities for expansion in general, but healing and advancement in the realm of Cancer. So Cancer is a water sign. Cancer is an emotional sign. Cancer invites us to look inward so that we remember that we can become our sacred sanctuary. Our inner knowing is penultimate. So Jupiter in Cancer is going to bring some kind of healing around that. It might very well be emotional healing because there's been a lot of psychological and emotional trauma to keep humanity small, right? So this is the idea that we're going to be invited to travel inward. Cancer is the crab with the shell and the soft center. We're going to be having this sense, this intuitive knowing that the answers lie within us. And we're going to be invited to go inward as far as possible, tending to everything that was set in place in past lives, in formative years, and to process the why, even if it's a trauma, the idea that our soul picked everything about our life, especially in our formative years. Even if traumas are activators, they often are. It's not easy to have a trauma as a child, but if we think about the lessons and the strengths that we and the things that have come of light that we never would be where we are but for ... right? So that's the kind of Jupiter in Cancer. Patterns from our ancestral patterning, from our lineages, from our families. There might even be some deep kind of emotional healing. We might be moving through some of the fears of our parents and of past generations as we're realizing that no longer resonates with our sacred self. So there's going to be a sense of safety within ourself, though, as we do this. It's going to be a sense of like the adult is going to be in the room with the little child, and we're going to be like, oh, here's why this is the thing. Oh, well, let's just clean this up a little bit. Let's realize this no longer serves us. Let's forgive great everybody on our lineage side that was actually doing the best they could. That's the kind of energy of Jupiter in Cancer. So emotional healing of all kinds, but some kind of lineage healing as well. And then just a couple days later, I said, you can't make this stuff up. Uranus is going into Gemini. So for comparison, Uranus has an 84-year cycle. It's just around 7 years in each sign. Smaller, shorter cycle than Neptune and Pluto, but all three of these guys are changing signs starting in 2025, fully in 2026, together with Saturn and Jupiter. That's all 5 outer planets changing, change of guard, changing signs. If there's a theme, it's like that it's a change of guard. There's a new color that we're wearing. There's a new vibration that's surrounding us. Every sign of the zodiac has a different theme. And so, Uranus, I like to say, reminds us that we are the high technology that we seek. Uranus is about technology of all kinds, but Uranus is I say it kind of brings a bang. It brings heightened change, heightened inspiration, heightened innovation, the idea of breakthroughs happening. It's also associated with earthquakes. But for our purposes, Uranus and Gemini, this is about both the collective and the individual. And as it moves into Gemini, this is interesting because Gemini is mercurial in some way. It's related to our intellect. It's related to our mind. Gemini, the sign of the twins, likes one polar idea, likes talking to one person on one side of the polar, and then goes over to the other side of the pole, talks to the other one, sees both their sides, thinks they're both equally interesting, and sees everybody in between. Gemini is just this very mutable energy. But it's also going to be, it's about communication, it's about learning, it's about information. There's going to be new ways for us to think about how we're thinking and how we're communicating. One of the themes that's coming through, if you haven't noticed, is our intuition. is our inner knowing. And it almost feels like Uranus and Gemini is going to be supporting us or giving us the nudge to really step into the shoes of, I know what my intuition feels like. But also, as we're looking at what's happening in 2025, this is, there's the narratives that we hold about ourselves in the world. There's going to be some outdated stuff that Uranus and Gemini is going to support us in releasing, liberating ourselves from any kind of constricting perspective that's still in the collective that no longer serves. It's like getting rid of that stuff is going to allow space for all these new ideas that we haven't even conceived of yet in January 2025. We'll get a glimpse of what those might be in the middle of 2025. We'll really get this chance to put the shovel in the ground or lay the foundation in 2026. I hope you get the sense of how beautiful this is. So let's go on. The final thing I wanted to share, and these are the eclipses. And so we have 2 eclipse seasons this year, one in March and one in September. And eclipses in general are a time of reset, recalibration, karmic recalibration beyond linear space and time. I like to sometimes say they're like wormholes or just these anomalies beyond 3D world, but they are also helping us. They're catalysts for change. And so, we have 4 eclipses. The March 14th eclipse is a full moon lunar eclipse on the south node. So this is in the Virgo Pisces axis. And the south node is where we've been. South full moon total eclipse in the sign of Virgo is going to be reminding us of the importance of tending to all the details of what we offer. And it's the idea of how a clean house is a holy house in that regard. But also it's going to be reminding us to not be wasting any extra time that we don't need to be wasting on being hyper vigilant, dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's, to really understand the wisdom of when it's good to be vigilant and when it's good to just go with the flow and be of service for the collective. March 29th, new moon, partial north node eclipse in the sign of Aries. So I mentioned that we're going to have one more eclipse dipping back into the older Aries Libra axis. So this new moon eclipse is going to be reminding us about our I am presence and about how we can fully embody as an individual, as an empowered sovereign individual, so as to be of service and for the collective in a Libra way. North Node, again, is where we're headed. So we're going to getting new ideas about who we are and why we're here. Later in September, we're back and fully into the Virgo Pisces axis. So North Node, full moon eclipse in the sign of Pisces. North Node is where we're going. Pisces is going to be inviting and reminding us to use our emotional intelligence, to have downloads and upgrades, reminding us that we already know everything we need to know, and to really step into the idea of trusting ourselves, trusting our energetic knowings, trusting our intuition. I believe the most powerful eclipse of 2025 is going to be in September 21st. This is the new moon, partial south node eclipse in the sign of Virgo. This is because there's a lot going on in Virgo, but specifically this, if you notice, it's at the 29th degree of Virgo. So this is making it an especially potent energy. And I'll get to that as the time approaches, but it's just, for now, it symbolizes it's going to be a push from the old energy toward the new energy, and it's going to be kind of a exclamation point of sorts. So I hope this is helpful. We did do a Q&A, but I'll see if I can record it, but this is just a brief snapshot for what to expect in 2025. If you see this on my YouTube channel and you have any interest in my Astrology 101 course, round 1 is kicking off right at the end of January. So I'll put a link if you happen to want to join us. All right. Happy 2025. Bright blessings. So much love.